The room was too quiet for a moment that was supposed to change history. Ethan sat behind the glass wall, hands resting on his knees, trying not to move too much. The chair felt smaller than it should have, and the air felt heavy, like it was waiting for something to happen. On the other side of the glass, scientists and diplomats stood shoulder to shoulder, watching every breath he took. Beyond them, inside the larger chamber, the alien delegation waited. They did not look frightening. That fact alone had surprised many people. Their bodies were tall and slender, their skin smooth and pale with a soft shimmer, like light reflecting off calm water. Their eyes were large, dark, and still, showing no clear emotion. They wore no clothing, only faint bands of light around their upper limbs that pulsed slowly, almost like a heartbeat. These were the Talari, the first confirmed intelligent alien species humanity had ever met. They did not speak. They listened. That was the problem. The Talari communicated through telepathy, not the dramatic kind humans imagined in movies where thoughts were stolen or commands were forced. Their telepathy was passive. They received thoughts the way humans received sound. To them it was natural, effortless, and constant. When they had first contacted humanity, they had assumed humans could control their thoughts the same way they controlled their voices. They were wrong. Most humans, when exposed to the Talari presence, experienced mild discomfort, headaches, emotional confusion, the sensation of being watched from the inside. But it passed quickly. With training, humans could focus, quiet their minds, and communicate clearly enough for basic exchanges. Ethan could not. That was why he was here.
Ethan Miller was not a scientist, a soldier, or a diplomat. He was an analyst.
A systems observer. His job before all this had been to watch patterns, notice small inconsistencies, and report them. He had never expected his own mind to become the inconsistency. The first time he had stood near a Talari, one of them had reacted, not verbally, not physically, emotionally. The Talari delegation had gone still. Their light bands had flickered out of rhythm. One of them had tilted her head slightly, her eyes narrowing as if she were seeing something unexpected. That moment had ended the session immediately. Now, weeks later, Ethan was sitting alone in a controlled observation room, about to do it again. He swallowed and stared straight ahead. "Remember," a calm voice said through the speaker, "you don't have to force anything. Just exist." Ethan almost laughed at that. Just exist. That was the problem. The glass wall slid open silently, revealing a clear path between his room and the Talari chamber. One of them stepped forward. She was the same one as before. Ethan did not know her name. The Talari used concepts, not words, but among the human staff, she had been quietly labeled Subject A7. Ethan hated that. Even in his thoughts, the label felt wrong. She stopped several meters away from the glass barrier separating them. Her presence pressed against his mind instantly. It was not painful. It was intimate. Ethan felt the familiar rush of awareness, like standing too close to someone in a quiet room. His thoughts, which normally felt private and scattered, suddenly felt exposed, like notes written on transparent paper. Oh, okay, he thought, calm, clear, neutral. The Talari's eyes focused on him. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then his mind betrayed him. She's different up close. The reaction was immediate. Her light bands pulsed brighter. Ethan's heart skipped. He hadn't meant to think that. It had just slipped through, like a breath. Her gaze sharpened, not in anger, but in alert curiosity. Oh, no. Oh, no. Stop thinking, Ethan. The Talari took a slow step closer to the glass. Ethan's thoughts tumbled despite his efforts. She's closer than last time. Why is she closer? Do they know I can't control this? Of course they know. Everyone knows. This is a terrible idea. Why did I agree to this again? A faint ripple passed through her posture. If a human had done it, Ethan would have called it surprise. Her attention deepened. Behind the glass, scientists leaned forward. Ethan tried to focus on something boring. Numbers. Patterns. Spreadsheets. Instead, his mind wandered.
Her eyes are strange.
Not scary, just deep. Like they're not looking at me, but through me. Her light band shifted into a new rhythm. The room seemed to hold its breath. The Talari tilted her head slightly the same way she had during the first incident. Her expression did not change, but something about her presence did. It felt warmer, more focused. She was reacting, not just receiving information, feeling it. Ethan felt a sudden wave of embarrassment. Oh God, she can feel that too, can't she? The warmth spiked. The Talari's posture stiffened for half a second, then relaxed again. Her eyes widened, just a little. The scientists began murmuring. Ethan's pulse raced.
This is bad! This is really bad!
I'm not supposed to affect them like this. But beneath the panic, another thought surfaced, quieter and more dangerous. She's curious. She's not angry. That thought carried something else with it. A flicker of wonder, a strange sense of connection. The Telerar stopped less than a meter from the glass. For the first time since contact, a Talari raised one of her hands and placed it against the barrier. Ethan stared. No one had ever seen them do that before. Her palm glowed faintly, and then something changed. Ethan felt it like a gentle pressure inside his head, not forcing, not invading, just present. A response, not words. Emotion, curiosity, layered with something unfamiliar. Interest.
Ethan's breath caught. She's reacting to me.
Not my species. The realization sent another wave of uncontrolled thoughts. She's thinking back. Is she thinking back? Can they do that? Of course they can. They're telepathic. But this feels different. Focused. Directed. The Talari's light bands fluttered rapidly, then settled into a steady glow. Behind the glass, someone whispered, "She's stabilizing." Ethan barely heard it. His thoughts slowed. Not because he forced them to, but because he felt listened to, seen. The pressure in his mind shifted again. Softer now. Ethan felt an impression, faint but unmistakable. Not a sentence. A question. Not in words, but in feeling. Why are you like this? The thought stunned him. He hadn't imagined it. He knew the difference between his own thoughts and something external. This was not him. She had asked him something, without language, without sound. Ethan's mind answered before he could stop himself. I don't know. Humans don't really control thoughts the way you do. We just think. The glow around her hand brightened. Her emotional presence sharpened, then bloomed into something richer. Amazement. Ethan felt a strange, unexpected pride. Yeah, we do. The Talari withdrew her hand slowly. She straightened, her posture suddenly more alert, more alive than before. Her gaze did not leave Ethan. The room erupted in quiet chaos behind the glass. Data spiked. Instruments recorded anomalies they did not yet understand. Ethan barely noticed. All he could focus on was the feeling that lingered in his mind. She was still there, not probing, not observing, listening. And for the first time since humanity had reached beyond its world, an alien intelligence was no longer just studying humans. She was trying to understand. One. And Ethan could not stop thinking about her. The room felt different after that day. Ethan noticed it the moment he stepped inside again. The walls were the same. The lights were the same. The quiet hum of machines still filled the air. But something unseen had changed, like the space remembered what had happened before. He sat in the chair, hands folded, breathing slowly. Across the glass, the Talari chamber waited. This time, he was not alone with his thoughts. The scientists had tried everything during the days that followed the first incident. Meditation techniques, focus drills, mental discipline programs. They had asked him to imagine blank walls, calm oceans, endless darkness. None of it worked. Human thoughts did not stop. They wandered. They connected ideas that had nothing to do with each other. They carried emotion even when logic tried to take control. The Talari found this deeply confusing. Ethan found it exhausting. "You don't have to suppress," one of the researchers had told him earlier that morning. "Just reduce." Ethan had nodded. Even though he knew it was pointless, he had tried. The glass wall opened again. She entered the chamber without hesitation. Ethan felt her before he saw her. The presence in his mind was clearer now, easier to recognize. It did not overwhelm him anymore. It rested there like someone standing quietly nearby. Her eyes found his instantly.
Ethan swallowed. Okay.
Neutral thoughts. Professional thoughts.
This is a scientific session. Stay focused.
Her attention brushed against his mind. The calm shattered almost immediately. She's back. The thought was soft, but it carried warmth. Her light bands brightened slightly. Ethan felt the flicker of embarrassment. Right? Neutral? Neutral. He tried to think about his breathing. In. Out. Then another thought slipped through. She chose to come again. The reaction was stronger this time. Her posture shifted. Her presence sharpened, then settled again, as if she were adjusting herself to him. She stepped closer to the glass. Ethan felt the pressure of her awareness deepen, but it still did not feel invasive. It felt focused, intent. The scientists watched in silence.
Ethan wondered if they felt it too, or if this connection existed only between them.
He thought about the question she had asked before. Why are you like this? His mind turned it over. Humans had asked themselves the same thing for centuries. Because we imagine, he thought. Because we feel, even when it's inconvenient. Because we can't turn it off. Her emotional response flowed back to him, slow and thoughtful. Curiosity mixed with confusion. He sensed something else as well, a faint strain, like trying to hold too many things at once. Ethan frowned slightly. "Is this hard for you?" The response came after a pause. Yes. The answer was not a word. It was a feeling of effort, of balancing unfamiliar weight. Ethan's chest tightened. "I'm sorry." The warmth shifted. Not discomfort. Acceptance. "You are not harmful," her presence seemed to say.
You are loud. Despite himself, Ethan almost smiled.
Yeah, that's fair.
The Talari moved her hand again, but this time she did not touch the glass. She held it close. Fingers relaxed. Ethan noticed how careful she was. She wasn't reacting by instinct anymore. She was choosing. The connection deepened slightly. Ethan felt flashes of unfamiliar sensation, structured thought, calm clarity, layered awareness. It was not overwhelming, but it was different from anything he had ever known. He realized she was sharing a little of herself, not information. Experience. The scientists gasped quietly. Data monitors spiked again. Ethan barely noticed. He focused on the feeling. It was like standing in a vast open space, where every idea had its place, every emotion had a clear boundary. Beautiful and lonely. The loneliness hit him unexpectedly hard. His thoughts reacted on their own.
"Is it always like this for you?"
Her response was slower this time. Yes. Ethan's throat tightened. Always together. Always connected. Always aware. He imagined what that would feel like. No privacy. No wandering thoughts. No inner noise. No quiet joy either. Humans lived inside their own minds. Messy, loud, unpredictable, but personal. He sent the thought gently. That sounds peaceful. But also empty. Her emotional presence wavered. Uncertainty. Then something new. Interest. She did not pull away. Instead, she leaned closer. Ethan's pulse quickened. The glass between them suddenly felt very thin. You are not empty, he thought carefully. Just different. The warmth in his mind expanded. She was no longer just listening. She was considering. Time passed differently when they connected like this. Ethan had no idea how long they stood there, exchanging impressions, questions, reactions. Thoughts slipped through that he did not always mean to share. Fragments of memory. Childhood laughter. Late-night worries. Curiosity about the stars. Each one caused a subtle shift in her emotional response. She did not judge. She absorbed. At one point, his thoughts drifted without warning. She's beautiful. The reaction was immediate.
Surprise. Then confusion.
Then something like reflection.
Ethan flushed. Sorry.
That just slipped. Her presence did not withdraw. Instead, something delicate brushed against his awareness. What is beauty? The question stunned him. Humans had entire philosophies built around that idea. He struggled to form a simple answer. It's when something makes you feel more. When it matters to you, even if you can't explain why. The response took longer this time. Then came a ripple of something unfamiliar. A fragile spark. Understanding. Maybe. Or the beginning of it. The session ended reluctantly. The scientists signaled for separation. Protocol demanded limits. The Telerar delegation stepped back, but she did not leave immediately. She held his gaze for a long moment. Her presence lingered in his mind. Lighter now, but still there. When she finally turned away, Ethan felt the absence like a sudden quiet. Afterward, the researchers surrounded him with questions. What did you feel? What did she transmit? Did you notice emotional feedback? Ethan answered as best he could, but some things he could not explain, because they were not data. They were moments. Later, alone in his quarters, Ethan lay awake, staring at the ceiling. His thoughts would not slow. He kept replaying the connection, the shared curiosity, the fragile warmth. She had not treated him like a subject. She had treated him like a mind worth understanding. That mattered more than he expected. Somewhere beyond the walls, beyond Earth, a telepathic alien lay within her own shared consciousness. And for the first time in her life, her thoughts did not fully return to the collective. They lingered on a human, on his noise, his emotion, his impossible, beautiful chaos. And neither of them could stop thinking about the other. The next session was not meant to happen, at least, not like this. Ethan was told it would be routine. Shorter, carefully monitored. More observers. Less freedom. The words were calm, but the tension underneath them was obvious. Something unexpected was happening, and neither side fully understood it. Ethan understood one thing very clearly. She would be there. He felt it even before he entered the chamber. The familiar, quiet pressure at the edge of his thoughts returned, gentle but alert, like someone waiting just outside a door. His thoughts stirred. She's already listening, isn't she? The pressure warmed. Yes, the answer was soft but certain. Ethan exhaled slowly. That was new. She had responded before he even saw her. When the glass wall opened, she was already standing close, closer than protocol allowed. The Talari attendants behind her did not interfere, but Ethan noticed how still they were, watching, measuring. She met his gaze, and for a moment, nothing else existed. The room, the observers, the machines, just the shared awareness between them. Ethan sat down carefully.
This feels different. Her presence shifted in agreement.
It is. The exchange was not verbal. It did not need to be. Their connection had grown more precise, more intentional. It no longer felt like accidental overlap. It felt like a channel, a private one. The scientists noticed immediately.
"Signal isolation is forming,"
someone whispered. Ethan didn't hear them. He was focused on the way her attention wrapped around his thoughts without overwhelming them. She wasn't pulling everything in anymore. She was choosing.
You're doing that on purpose, aren't you?
He thought.
Yes.
A pause. "I want to understand you without the noise."
Ethan smiled faintly.
"That might be impossible."
A ripple of something like amusement passed through her presence. Then, "I will learn your noise." The words, if they could be called that, struck him deeply. Humans had always been told to be quieter, to focus, to control, to discipline their minds. She was doing the opposite. She was adapting to him. The realization filled him with a strange pride. They stood like that for a long moment, sharing impressions. Ethan let his thoughts drift more naturally this time. He didn't fight them as hard. He trusted her to filter what she needed. Images slipped through. Cities glowing at night. Music playing softly through headphones. The comfort of sitting alone with thoughts and feeling okay with them. Her emotional response was steady, but intense. Wonder. "Why do you create so much when you are alone?" she asked.
Ethan thought about it.
"Because we're never really alone," he answered. "Our minds keep us company." The answer puzzled her. She sent a gentle pulse of confusion. Ethan clarified.
"Even when no one else is there, our thoughts talk to each other.
Memories, hopes, fears. It's crowded in here." He expected discomfort. Instead, he felt fascination.
"Crowded, but yours," she replied.
Yes, that distinction mattered. The Talari Collective did not have that. Their thoughts flowed together. Identity was shared. Individual focus existed, but it was always connected. Ethan sensed her hesitation. "You're not supposed to do this alone, are you?" Her response came slowly. "No." The weight of that answer pressed against his chest. Ethan felt a spark of concern.
Are you in trouble? A flicker of caution passed through her presence.
Not yet, but others are aware. Ethan glanced past her at the other Talari. They stood still, eyes unfocused, their light bands pulsing in quiet synchronization, watching, monitoring. He lowered his thoughts instinctively.
"I don't want to cause problems for you."
Her response surprised him. "You already have." Not with anger, with truth. Ethan swallowed. What truth? Another pause. That we can choose where our attention rests. The idea felt small to humans. It was not small to her people. The connection tightened, not in pressure, but in clarity. For the first time, Ethan felt something distinctly individual from her side. Not shared emotion, not collective awareness. A single point of self. Fragile, bright. He focused gently on it, afraid that too much attention might overwhelm it. She noticed.
"You are careful." Ethan smiled.
"We learn early. Humans break easily." Her response carried surprise. "You are loud, emotional, unstable. Yet you protect what matters. That sounded like respect. The scientists interrupted the session briefly, requesting measurable responses. Ethan answered aloud this time, describing sensations as best he could. But the real conversation continued silently. She adjusted her mental presence, narrowing it further. The background hum of the Talari collective faded slightly. Ethan felt it.
You're separating yourself.
Only a little, she replied.
Enough to hear you clearly. That should not have been possible.
Yet here they were. Ethan's thoughts wandered again, uninvited.
What happens if they stop you? The answer carried uncertainty.
I do not know. That scared him more than he expected. Humans lived with uncertainty every day, but they also had choice. He sent the thought carefully.
You don't have to keep doing this? Her response was immediate.
I want to. No hesitation. No doubt. The clarity of it took his breath away. Ethan felt something shift inside him. A sense of responsibility, of connection, deeper than curiosity. Then something unexpected happened. A second presence brushed against Ethan's mind. Sharp, analytical, not hers. He stiffened. She felt it too. The presence withdrew quickly, but not before leaving an impression. Concern.
They are watching more closely now, she said. Ethan's heart raced.
Did I do something wrong?
No.
You are being yourself. That again.
Always that. Ethan forced himself to think calmly.
What do they think of me? She hesitated. They think you are a risk. That stung. Even though he understood.
A risk to what? To us remaining unchanged. Ethan let out a slow breath. Humans had done that before. Changed others, simply by existing.
He thought of history.
Of ideas spreading. Of cultures shifting. He sent the thought gently, change isn't always bad. Her emotional response was complicated. Fear, hope, conflict. The session ended abruptly this time. The Talari attendant stepped forward, signaling withdrawal. She pulled back slightly, but not fully. Before the connection faded, she sent one last impression.
I will return.
Ethan felt the emptiness immediately when she left. The silence was louder than before. Afterward, the debrief was tense. Scientists debated ethics. Diplomats discussed boundaries. Words like containment and limitation were used. Ethan barely listened, because deep inside his mind, something remained. Not her presence, but the certainty that she would come back, elsewhere. Within the Talari collective, her thoughts struggled to settle back into perfect harmony. They echoed. She noticed gaps now, places where silence felt wrong, where her attention drifted toward a single human mind, full of noise and warmth and contradiction. The collective felt the disturbance, and for the first time they questioned whether unity without individuality was truly complete. Far apart, separated by glass and space and species, both of them lay awake, thinking, waiting, and knowing that whatever came next would not be small. The next time Ethan entered the observation wing, the atmosphere was tight. People spoke more softly. Security checks took longer. New equipment lined the walls, humming with quiet purpose. Screens showed complex graphs and shifting patterns that no one fully understood yet. Something was happening. Ethan felt it before anyone told him. The familiar presence did not greet him. That absence felt wrong. He sat in the chair and waited, hands clasped together, trying not to let his thoughts spiral. The scientists spoke around him, explaining new limits, new rules, new precautions. He barely heard them. Where is she? The question echoed in his mind, unanswered. Across the glass, the Talari chamber remained empty. Minutes passed, then pressure brushed against his thoughts, sharp and unfamiliar. Not her. This presence was cold, precise, maw, heavy with judgment. Ethan stiffened. He felt observed, not listened to. The Talari entered as a group this time, moving in perfect coordination. Their light bands pulsed in exact rhythm. No hesitation. No variation. She was among them. But she felt different, distant, controlled. Her attention did not reach for him right away. Ethan's chest tightened. The group stopped farther from the glass than before. The pressure in Ethan's mind intensified as the collective focused on him together. Their thoughts overlapped, forming a structured, unified presence. He struggled to breathe normally. This was not a conversation. This was an evaluation. The first impression reached him clearly. Human Ethan Miller is an anomaly. The thought was not hostile, but it was firm.
Ethan swallowed. I know.
Her presence flickered at the edge of the collective, restrained. The evaluation continued. Your cognitive patterns disrupt passive reception. Your emotional output exceeds expected variance. Your interactions have caused deviation within Talari consensus.
Ethan felt heat rise in his chest. I didn't mean to cause harm. The response came instantly.
Intent is irrelevant. Effect matters. That stung. Humans lived by intent, by trying, by failing and adjusting. He felt her tension spike briefly, then settle again. She was listening. The collective pressed on. Deviation has increased since repeated exposure. Individual focus has intensified in Subject A7. Ethan's heart raced. They were talking about her. A sense of unease rippled through him.
Is she in trouble?
The response was immediate. Subject A7 is under observation. Controlled. Ethan's thoughts flared despite himself. Because of me, the pressure sharpened. Because of interaction. Ethan clenched his fists. He struggled to calm his thoughts, but emotion leaked through. She chose this. A ripple of hesitation passed through the collective. Choice is contextual. Ethan felt something push back from her side, subtle but clear. I chose this. The words were hers. Not loud, not defiant, but unmistakable. The collective paused. For the first time since entering, their rhythm faltered slightly. Ethan felt a surge of relief and worry mixed together. She was still there. Still herself. The collective addressed her. Your focus has narrowed. Your emotional resonance has diversified.
Your separation index has increased, she responded calmly.
Yes, this was unprecedented. The collective shifted attention back to Ethan. Explain your influence. Ethan took a slow breath. He didn't try to organize his thoughts perfectly. He let them flow, trusting that honesty mattered more than precision. I don't think I'm influencing her, he thought.
I think she's experiencing something new. Humans don't share one mind.
We learn by difference, by contrast, by connecting without merging. The collective processed this. Silence pressed down. Ethan felt her presence strengthen slightly, encouraged. The collective replied, difference creates instability. Ethan pushed gently back. Difference creates growth. Difference creates growth. The word seemed to echo, growth. The collective did not reject it immediately. They examined it. Within the shared presence, Ethan sensed tension, not anger, not fear, uncertainty. That alone was a victory. Her attention brushed his mind, warm and steady. You are not afraid, she nodded. Ethan almost laughed.
I am...
Her confusion surfaced. Then why continue? Ethan answered honestly. Because some things matter more than fear. That feeling passed through her, like a quiet shock. The collective noticed. Subject A7 shows heightened emotional response. Ethan felt frustration spike. You talk about emotion like it's a flaw, he thought.
But it's how we decide what matters,
The collective replied. Emotion clouds judgment. Ethan countered. Emotion gives judgment meaning. The exchange was dangerous. The scientists behind the glass shifted nervously. Data streams surged again. The collective pressed harder. Human cognition is inefficient, disordered, unstable.
Ethan accepted that. Yes.
Then he added something they did not expect. And still, we build, we explore, we care. We choose kindness when we don't have to. That word lingered, kindness. The collective examined it carefully. Her presence brightened. Ethan felt her agreement without words. Kindness is not logical, she said privately, yet it feels necessary. The collective sensed the private exchange. Boundaries are being crossed. Ethan's pulse jumped. He forced himself to stay calm. You asked why I'm a risk, he thought. This is why.
Humans don't just think.
We feel for others, even across difference. The collective's pressure eased slightly. The session ended abruptly after that. The Talari withdrew as one. She lingered for a fraction of a second longer, just enough to send one last impression. Do not retreat. Then she was gone. The room erupted into quiet debate. Some argued that the connection was too dangerous. Others said it was historic. A few whispered that something beautiful was unfolding. Ethan sat silently. He felt exhausted, but steady. For the first time, he understood the weight of what was happening. This was not about him anymore. It was about two ways of existing touching for the first time.
Elsewhere within the Talari collective, disturbance spread.
Subject A7's individuality did not fade after separation. It strengthened. Other Talari began noticing gaps in the shared flow. Small pauses, moments of reflection, questions appeared. Why do humans protect individuality? Why do emotional chaos not destroy them?
Why does connection without merging feel appealing? The collective resisted.
But resistance required attention. And attention created awareness. Awareness created possibility. Far away, on opposite sides of a fragile bridge between species, Ethan and the Talari woman. They were watched. They were measured. But neither of them felt alone anymore. And that, perhaps, was the most dangerous change of all. The final session was not announced as final. No one said the words out loud, but everyone felt it. The observation wing was fuller than ever. Scientists, diplomats, and representatives stood in careful silence. No one rushed, no one whispered. The air itself seemed to wait. Ethan sat alone in the chair again. His hands rested calmly this time. He was afraid, yes, but it no longer ruled him. Something deeper had taken its place. Trust. Not in the situation, but in the connection that had already changed everything. He reached out with his thoughts. Gently. I'm here. For a moment, there was nothing. Then warmth answered. So am I. Relief washed through him. The glass wall opened. She entered alone. That alone mattered. No synchronized group. No shared rhythm. No collective pressure pressing down on his mind. Her light bands pulsed softly, not perfectly aligned with anything else. Individual. Ethan felt the tightness in his chest. You're alone, he thought. Yes. Her presence carried calm certainty. The collective is listening, but they are not speaking. Ethan understood what that meant. This was her choice. She stopped close to the glass, closer than ever before. Ethan stood slowly, mirroring her distance. They faced each other across the barrier, human and alien, separated by material but connected in a way no one could see. The connection between them was clear and focused. No interference, no pressure, just attention. The collective presence hovered far back, observing without merging. She sent a clear impression. They have asked me to decide. Ethan's heart beat faster. Decide what? Whether this connection continues. Whether humans remain close or distant. The weight of it pressed into him. He thought carefully before responding. What do you want? The question surprised her. Humans always asked what was safe, what was efficient, what was allowed. He was asking what she wanted. The pause stretched. Then her presence grew brighter, more defined. I want to understand, without losing myself. Ethan nodded slightly. That makes sense. The collective stirred faintly. Concern rippled. Separation risks fragmentation. She acknowledged it calmly. Unity without choice is not harmony. The idea echoed strongly. Ethan felt something shift. The collective turned attention toward him again, but gently this time. Human Ethan Miller, your cognitive patterns have accelerated deviation. Explain why this should be permitted. Ethan did not feel defensive anymore. He answered simply, because deviation is how growth begins. He let his thoughts flow openly. Humans aren't perfect. Our minds are messy. We argue with ourselves. We doubt.
We feel too much, but that's how we change.
That's how we learn when something isn't right. The collective examined the thought carefully. She added her own experience. His thoughts do not erase mine.
They reveal them. That statement sent a wave through the shared presence.
Reveal. Not overwrite. Not infect. Reveal. Ethan felt something like hope spread through the connection. The collective questioned further.
What is the outcome of this revelation? Ethan answered honestly.
Choice, silence followed. Choice was dangerous. Choice meant uncertainty. But uncertainty also meant possibility. She stepped closer to the glass and placed her hand against it again. This time, Ethan placed his hand opposite hers. They did not touch. They did not need to.
I am still Talari, she said clearly.
But I am also myself. The collective felt the strength of that identity. It did not collapse. It did not fracture. It held. The data confirmed it. Stability remained. Difference existed. Both at once. The collective presence softened. A question emerged. Quieter than before. Can this be shared?
She considered. Not forced, she replied.
Only offered. Ethan felt pride swell in his chest. That was human. The collective withdrew slightly, no longer pressing. They reached a conclusion not as a command, but as a decision. Limited individuality will be explored. Human cognitive exposure will continue, with consent.
Ethan closed his eyes briefly. It was done.
Not a victory of dominance, a victory of understanding. The glass wall lowered slowly for the first time. No alarm sounded. No one moved to stop it. The barrier between them was gone. Ethan's breath caught as the air between them mixed. She stood directly in front of him now. The connection intensified, but it was warm, balanced, not overwhelming. She looked at him closely, studying not his thoughts, but his face, so small compared to her, so fragile, so stubborn, so alive. You changed us, she said. Ethan shook his head gently.
You chose to change.
That mattered. The room remained silent as they stood there, representatives of two worlds no longer separated by fear. Later, long after the session ended, Ethan sat outside under Earth's night sky. The stars looked the same as they always had, but they felt closer now. She was not beside him physically. She did not need to be. Her presence rested lightly at the edge of his thoughts. Not constant, not intrusive, just there when welcomed. The Talari collective had not fractured. They had expanded. Individual focus became an option, not a threat. Humans were no longer seen as noisy minds to be managed. They were recognized as bridges, creatures who could connect without losing themselves, who could feel deeply and still stand, who could face the unknown and choose curiosity over control. Ethan smiled faintly as a familiar thought drifted through.
Still thinking about me?
Her response carried something unmistakably personal. Always. And for the first time in recorded history, humanity's greatest strength was not its technology, its ambition, or its reach into the stars. It was the simple, powerful truth that being human meant being able to care. Loudly, imperfectly, and without apology. And the universe listened.